The reign of Black Frieza has begun, and as a result, we've got a brand new merchandise line. The Black Frieza Wreck Everyone and Leave t-shirt, hoodie, and various other types of merch available right now in the Geekdom 101 store. Will Frieza play Goku and Vegeta like a puppet? We'll find out soon. Right now, it comes in various sizes and colors, ships pretty much everywhere in the world. The link is down in the description. Get your hands on the limited edition Black Frieza Wreck Everyone and Leave merch line. I love this design and I hope you do too. The rumors have been flying for quite some time, folks, about a new Dragon Ball weekly anime that's not supposed to be a continuation of Super yet. It's supposed to be something totally different. I talked about this a couple days ago here on the channel, but what I've done today is I want to discuss here what this could be, because as far as we know, right now, it's not supposed to be a continuation of Super, like the Moral arc or Granola arc. It's supposed to be something totally different, but we don't have details on that yet. So I want to discuss on here what it could be. And I want to also let you guys know that I'm probably going to be doing a stream sometime soon with all of you here on the channel, discussing like other ideas you may have. So let me introduce the panel, and we're going to go ahead and get everyone's thoughts on what this is going to be. Welcome to Talk Dragon Ball Resurrection. I am Danny here at Geekdom 101, and over here is frequent collaborator from the Dragon Ball Sayuki, Jordan the Dragon Lee. What's up, man?
What's up?
Okay, and then up here we have Laser Kid, who's been in several of these Talk Dragon Balls, and he's also one of the people over at the Toonami Faithful podcast.
Hello, everybody.
Yes, and over on Toonami Faithful, they talk about Toonami. So if you're somebody, obviously, who got into Dragon Ball through Toonami and you remember Gundam Wing, and you still watch it, check that out as well. And then up here in the diagonal part of where I'm at, from AnimeHunch.com, www.animehunch.com. AnimeHunch.com. Write that down. AnimeHunch.com. It's Anon. What's up, man?
Yo, what's up, bro?
Good
to be here.
I learned that if you tell somebody something 3 times, they'll remember it. So hopefully they remember. What's that website again? No, I remember. AnimeHunch.com, bro. It's a mental trick, bro. So there is no canon. There is no canon. There is no canon. Anyways, let's talk about. Let's talk about this upcoming Dragon Ball weekly series. You know, DBS 2019, I talked about it. Some of the other leakers have talked about it. I haven't heard any details on it myself. It could be anything. I've seen speculation everywhere from it could be a anime version of the Jocko manga to it's a Yamoshi story to it's it could be a Universe 6 thing. Like, nobody really knows. So I want to start with Laser Kid here. What do you think this could be? It's a 2-part question for all you guys. What do you think it could be, and what do you want it to be?
Well, it's a web series, so my honest guess...
could be a web series. That could be something that we don't have details yet because DBS said he's not sure what it is, but yes, it could be.
Fair. Could be a web series. Okay, my bad there. That shows how much I know.
It probably is, but I want to be safe just to be sure.
Yeah, no, facts are good. My honest first likely guess is a comedy series, just, doing gags. Probably not as insane as something like Teen Titans Go, but I get the feeling that if it's going to be a quick series, pick up this quickly, but it's not a story continuation, the most likely thing is some sort of a, gag series, just, little shorts here and there. But what I'd actually like to see would be something more of filling in the gaps. There's so many little moments that you could, expound upon throughout the entire series. You just little moments here and there that, get skipped over. That could be fun.
You mean like time skips?
Well, yeah, time skips, or hey, let's look at Goku training with Kami. We don't really know what happened there. Anything really. Various little bits and bobs throughout the story. Just to, shine a little light on a little moment that, could be fun.
You know what that sounds like to me? Over on Disney Plus, they just debuted a few weeks ago Tales of the Jedi, and I love that. Yeah.
Yes, that would be a lot like what I would like to see.
That's what I was getting from it, because for those who don't know, Tales of the Jedi is it's an animated, it's 15-minute animated shorts that tell you little stories throughout the different Star Wars times. There's 3 Ahsoka episodes, 3 Dooku episodes, and they take place in between the movies or even before the movies to kind of tell you little stories like how did Dooku go to the dark side or how did Ahsoka learn this. It's basically done to fill in the gaps, to explain things we've wondered about for many years. So let me ask you this follow-up question then. What kind of stories would you like to see? Before you answer, I'm going to just give mine. I would love it if they showed us a story in between Dragon Ball and Z, like after Goku wins the tournament, gets married to Chi-Chi before Raditz shows up. I would also like to see how Goku got Super Saiyan 3 in the other world. And then third, I want to see the real who killed Jiren's parents, because people have been asking about this for so long, and they could actually answer fan questions by doing things like this. So what story would you like to see of that idea? Like, what kind of stories would you like to see told of the in-between stuff?
Well, I mean, me being the future Trunks fan, I'd love to see a bridge between his end of his story from Z and where we see him in Super. Just some kind of little, him rebuilding the future and whatnot. Just
to bounce off your idea, what if they actually showed us the original timeline, Goku versus Mecha Frieza and King Cold? I've always wanted to see that. I have always wanted to see
that. Would be amazing.
I've
that would
always
be
wanted
really
to see
cool.
it.
I'd love that.
All we did is hear about it.
Yeah, all we just hear about it. That would be fun to see because that happened. I'm actually going to go way back, and what I would love to see is I mentioned Goku training with Kami. What about Ma Junior Piccolo before the tournament? And we saw bits and pieces in filler in the anime, but I'd really like to see what he went through for training to get to where he got to. I think that would be pretty interesting. Similarly, I think the other thing I'd love to see is
what about this?
You touched on
Mutaito and King Piccolo, like that story.
That would be great
cool.
too.
Yeah,
that would be great.
Yeah.
I'd actually love to see that 5 years between Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z filled in, though, particularly when it comes to young Gohan and Goku and Chi-Chi's relationship, but not just them. Everyone was doing something. Yamcha was doing something. How did he get into that baseball team? What was Krillin doing? What was everyone doing? That whole period is completely unexplored, really.
I would love it if they did a thing where, and I've talked about this years ago, this would be a good 40th anniversary movie. I would love it if they showed us if they showed us a little adventure in between Dragon Ball and Z, sort of like what they did with Dead Zone, where baby Gohan gets kidnapped by some pirate bandit who happens to be a martial artist but isn't quite as strong as Piccolo, and we have a little adventure where Goku and Chi-Chi together go rescue the kid. Something like that I think would be cool, because it's not transformation, it's not like these huge key battles. It would sort of like the Goku Jr. special, like a little story, and it would sort of maybe build into what we saw in Dragon Ball Z, and what we saw from Gohan. Something like that would be cool. So, Anand, what do you think about Laser's idea, and what would you like to see, and what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, I think that his idea of filling in the gaps is actually a good one. But the thing is, how would they continue from one story to another? For example, if they're going to fill in certain gaps of, let's say, when you mentioned what was happening between the time between Goku when he marries Chi-Chi, wins the tournament, and to the starting of Z. That is one story. And how will they carry on with that? Will there be okay, would it be like a short series version of things where they cover some parts and then move on to the next storyline,
part 1,
in
part
the
2,
same
part 3.
Part 1. Right, exactly like that. So if that is the case, that would be actually good in terms of filling in the gap to see what these characters were doing in their free time. So, but what I would think would okay, since you asked two questions, okay, what would I like and what could happen? So, what could happen is possibly they would probably go to they obviously want to go beyond end of Z. At least sometime or the other they have to go beyond end of Z. So I was just recently watching the path to not path to power, the special where Goku's descendant,
The
where
Goku Jr.
he
special. I just talked about that.
Goku Jr. Yeah, exactly. So if they're going to focus on specific characters like that, if it's not going to connect it on Super, if there's not going to be connected to Super, any of these things, they could go build on these specials like this, because if it's only specific to the anime in particular, where they can build up in these characters and these lines and develop these characters, where the next generation, how they're going to go up from here. Not exactly connected to the original manga right now, but how these descendants can probably move on from here is what I could think could happen. But the thing is, what I would prefer actually, if Toriyama is basically involved in this, if he's going to be actually involved or at least supervising this entire thing, what will happen
He'll
to
definitely
some
be
good amount
involved
of,
to a degree,
yeah. But whether
or
he's going
so
to write the
we think.
script or he's going to be involved in writing the scripts, or at least in some sort of overseeing all these scripts, then I would probably see it as a fun slice of life anime where you focus on these, the side characters or the small characters, to see where these lives, what have been doing with their lives, along with how, like, for example, if they're going to focus on, let's say, Trunks, Goat, and all these guys, they can not only focus on their slice of life, but also see how they've been going on with their training as well, how they're able to look up to you know their fathers and grandfathers and sort, and see how they can mold their um what do you say, sane attributes along with the human side, and come in terms with it, and see how they can progress even further. Because I mean, because they're quarter saints, they can be have much more potential than
Right.
half saints have. So how they're going to come to terms with it? Because they said in End of Z they didn't care as much in terms of fighting as compared to before, but if they're going to come to terms with it, you have to see, like, okay, how can we push for? Because if Gohan is completely pushed to that extreme, because we've seen that in Superhero, where even though he might not like it, but he's come to terms with, like, okay, if Goku and Vegeta aren't there, I should basically have to step in. The same thing would apply for Trunks and Goten as well. So I'm just giving an example where they could focus on these characters, bring a lot of slice of life, along with see how they can come to terms with these.
I feel
That's what I
like
like.
I would like to see that. I would, but a lot of fans, I think, I like the idea, but I think a lot of fans want, like, the story. But at the same time, what you're talking about could work, but I also feel like they might be too scared to go in that direction, because once Akio-san and Toriyama say, okay, we're going past the end of Z now, whenever that time comes, should it ever come, that's when we're going to get the continuation, which I think everybody wants that. Are you talking
Right.
about something like there were jokes made on Twitter about this, like a sequel to GT? Is that what you're saying? Or not necessarily that, just super, but just after, but not serious.
Yeah, yeah, but not seriously, exactly. It could
Right.
be after the events of Super, but not because if they're going to come to those terms in the original main continuity, that is the manga or the anime, I guess they could keep one step, at least they can try going on penetrating on those waters first and see how the fans can accept going past to Z by focusing on the less important stuff, not more than the action or the story, and see how they can fit in the more story aspects within the manga when the time actually comes,
That
when the
makes sense.
next arc.
Now that's what you think we're gonna get. What do you want? What would you want?
No, that is what I actually want. Yeah,
Oh,
that's
that's what you
what
want.
I
Okay,
actually
I'm
want.
sorry. What do you think we're
Yeah,
gonna get then?
think what again? But to be honest, I have absolutely no idea. It could be anything. Depends on what their goal is in terms of what the web series has to be.
Same.
Because they said, like, you mentioned that it's not going to be a remake of Z or the original Dragon Ball run
Right.
as well.
Right.
Nor yeah, and it's also going to be like a weekly thing. At least what the rumors said, it's going to be a weekly anime production with probably a good even the staff members also is not confirmed. We don't know where
We
exactly they're
have
coming
no
from.
clue who's on it. Hopefully, it's going to be well done. I would hope. I mean, here's the
Yeah,
thing:
and there's all
because Akio said this in January, that means that they've already had this plan since before January. Which means that if they knew they were going
yeah,
to do this, they've had over a year of planning. So we were probably not going to have
yeah.
it poorly animated, you'd assume. But maybe it could be CGI. I mean, what if they take the superhero formula and adapt it to a
Hmm.
web series? That they could do that for all we know.
Yeah, but in terms of budget wise, how much they could pull off that level of CGI which they pull off with superhero, it's pretty doubtful. Because they also mentioned, at least what
I
some
have
of the
no clue
rumors
what the
said, they
budget
also
is.
mentioned, yeah, some of the rumors also said that they might carry. on from the web series to the to main
Right,
anime series, if
right.
that's going to happen. So if that's going to happen, if they're going to continue that with the anime, I don't think that's going to be full on CG, just like with superhero, because the amount of budget required for both of them is too much for
Yeah, and
that
if they use the
level of.
cheap CGI, it's gonna look like Reboot. Remember that show? We don't want
Yeah,
that. We do not want Dragon Ball to look like that, yo. Like I know people love Reboot, but that style does not fit with Dragon Ball at all. I think the
exactly.
safest, if we look at this objectively, the safest thing they can do to not mess up the continuity is if the series takes place far into the future or far into the past, which is where I've kind of wanted
Yeah,
Star Wars to go. Like, there's been so many issues. I bring up Star Wars because Dragon Ball and Star Wars have a lot of similarities. They're both originally created by one guy who was inspired by Eastern philosophy, Jordan. I put that in there just for you. And they also, it was one guy and now it's a corporate thing. So now it's how can we make money on this? I still feel like Star Wars puts out more content than Dragon Ball. It's actually objectively true. But at the same time, like, I've said for years, what they should do now that the sequel trilogy's been, dog water, they should from now on set their stories way in the past or way in the future so you don't
right.
interrupt the Skywalker saga. And I think that's the safest thing they could do. If they go back to like the story of Yamoshi, the ancient Saiyans, Frieza's clan, if they go all the way back to like hundreds of years ago, I think that would be the safest thing they can do without creating plot holes. And they can still create plot holes, but it would create less plot holes. However, the Japanese don't care that much about plot holes. Not all of them, but people who make Dragon Ball, it's not a huge deal to them. As you can obviously tell, you've been a Dragon Ball fan for a long time. They don't care that much. So, Jordan, man, what would you like to see? What do you think we're going to see? I guess tell me what. Well, you pick whatever order you want.
Well, what I would like to see, there's a lot of things I would like to see. I kind of agree with Laser that a show with just filling in the gaps in terms of what has happened in the past would be really cool. I would love to see Grandpa Gohan and Goku hang out more. Um, I would love to see maybe Grandpa Gohan and the Ox King when they were kids training under Roshi, or maybe Roshi training with the
Mutaito
Crane
and,
Hermit
and
back in
Suru
the day
Senin.
even
Right.
more.
That would
Yeah.
all
You
be
know,
That
awesome.
one flashback episode I love so much, the time travel one.
Yeah, I would love to see all of those things. Personally, just because I'm a lore I love lore, and I
Right.
would just love to see like the gaps filled in terms of lore, because I'm sure Toriyama has a lot of backstories in the back of his mind that he's never expressed, and he might jump at the opportunity to expand on his content because he does love to do
And
that.
he's a comedy guy,
Yeah. So
which goes to
the
Anand's point.
chances of that aren't necessarily super high, but they're high enough that I guess I can have my hopes up a little bit.
Well,
But in
it's
terms of
more
what I
Dragon Ball content, so I think I just want to say this as a fan of Dragon Ball. I want it to be good. As the businessman, Geekdom 101, I just want it because it's going to help, obviously, the channel out. And this is what I do for a living. So we want more content. I never lied about that. But I obviously want it to be good. I don't want to have to come on here every week like I do every month with Heroes and be like, all right, guys. So Heroes episode was okay for what it is, and it's like I don't even want to cover Heroes anymore, honestly. But I do it because people want me to do it, so I do it for you guys. But it's so not what I care about, even though it has great ideas in it. I
well,
want to be able to like get into it and love it. And I'm not saying every episode has to be 5 stars, but I want most of it to be good.
here, speaking of Heroes kind of does the things that we're talking
Yeah,
about.
they do web
but
series.
They just do it. It just does it in a very beneath the surface type of way. Like a lot of people don't even realize that Heroes actually takes place after the end of Z. It's like way in the
But it's in
future.
its own continuity, though, completely
Yeah,
separate
yeah.
from everything. Because
Because
everything's
like
Different
canon.
timelines and
Ev-
everything.
Everything is canon in Heroes, which is why I like
and
it. There's no canon debates.
Cumber is an ancient Saiyan from way back in the day, so that kind of covers your need for like ancient Saiyans. Like they try.
Right,
Like
and you
they
got the
Heroes does
demon
make an
realm.
attempt to try to fan service you in that way. It's just because it's based around a card game, it's really hard to take it seriously because it's just promotional material while you're looking at
Well,
it.
not to mention that we can't actually play this game unless we're in Japan. Like, what people don't understand is if you watch Heroes, right? You're supposed to watch Heroes and then go to the arcade when the DLC drops and play the game. Then you're going to get the completion of the story. All of us here, I've been to Japan, but that's a 2-week trip. I don't live there. We can't actually see the full story unless we play the game. And it's
Well,
BS.
they do document it online. Like I
Yeah,
am a
but
lore
nobody wants to
fanatic,
do
like I
that.
said.
People want to play the
So
game.
like I'll go out of my way to read new on Super Dragon Ball Heroes because I just love lore. I just love storytelling and lore.
And the
general.
manga's better too. The Heroes manga.
Yeah, so like if you give me a book, it doesn't even have to have pictures. If you give me a book with lore in it about Dragon Ball, I'm gonna eat that stuff up just
Right.
because that's
Oh,
how I am
definitely.
about lore. But
Most of us.
in
yeah.
terms of what I think it's gonna be, and this is just me looking at how they've done things in the past, when Super came out, they renamed Dragon Ball Heroes Super Dragon Ball Heroes. And Super is like the commercial product
Right.
that they
it's
are really
definitely-
playing on
Yeah. That's the brand
right
name now.
now. Right. So, I get people, I understand why people think it might not have anything to do with Super because that is a possibility. But to me, it just seems like if they do have a web series, it's going to be used as promotional material in some way.
Sure.
I do think a lot of this like lore expansion stuff is kind of a pipe dream because I think that they want.
Right.
I mean, don't get me wrong; they could still do that while promoting Super, but like the logical answer is that whatever the web series is, if it's not something completely goofy, it's gonna have some kind of connection to Super to promote Super, and so and plus, like I said in previous podcasts, I know people love slice of life, and I love slice of life in Dragon Ball, but it just seems like Toei has a habit of focusing on fights in their content,
Right.
and it's
'Cause
just,
they know it makes money.
yeah. So, like when I put all that stuff together, it really seems to me like it's just going to be some extra content that also. It's just going to be Dragon Ball in 15-minute increments, no matter what it is.
But
I don't
we don't
think it's
know
gonna
that
be,
though. We don't know if it's gonna be 15 minutes. That's just an assumption. We have no idea.
Well, yeah, if the web series is how a typical web series functions, which is like 10 to 15 minutes, then it would probably be, it would just be some action and some comedy and just extra content for Dragon Ball. That's what it's sort of like Heroes, but not. It would be more
Hopefully
connected
better.
to the actual continuity of Super and stuff like that. That's like when I actually try to think about what it likely is. That's what keeps coming to mind, just based on how they've marketed Dragon Ball as of late and how they've handled things as of late. It just seems like to me that's the most likely scenario. But I would love it. I would much rather them, like I said, fill in gaps about the lore. I would love that. But to me, it just seems like it's probably going to be something along the lines of what Super is to some degree.
How would you feel if it was like? Well, how would you feel if instead of tacking the Dragon Ball Super Broly retelling onto the Super anime, they do the movie retellings in this? But then I feel like it wouldn't be that long.
They could expand on movies too. That would be cool. There's a lot. I'm sure there's all kind. It could just be the untold tales of Dragon Ball.
That's what we talked about
You know what I
earlier.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like it could easily be that, but
How would you?
I'm not gonna get my hopes up too high.
Well,
just based on what I've seen.
Right.
Now, if the episodes are full on 30-minute episodes, that changes things.
Right.
That changes my perception on what it's going to be completely.
I mean, for all
But
we
if
know, it could be a web series temporarily until they move it to TV. They could always do that as well.
Yeah, that could be true. Or maybe they're just trying to take advantage of the new economy in terms of like web series are very, very successful in terms
But
of
remember,
revenue.
you're assuming this is a web series. We don't know 100% if that's what this is yet. We're still
right.
we don't know 100%.
Well,
but
if it
probably
is, see, that's the thing. There's so many factors to consider,
right,
in terms of what it could be that it's really hard to determine what it actually is. But if it is a web series, as it's been rumored, to me that just suggests some kind of promotional material that's going to be a mixed bag of content. That's what. But if I had my way, it would be lore based for sure. Like I would love to see extra stuff that we would otherwise never get to see before Toriyama kicks the bucket. Like, I would love to see more content from him expanding on his universe.
Right.
Like, that's what I
Well,
would
he's
love to
not
see
that old,
personally.
but yeah, I see your point.
Yeah.
Well, nobody's talked about this yet, but with Nozawa being how her age and the concern of possibly losing her at some point in the next 10 years just because she's that old, not because I want it to happen, but because she's getting up there. How come nobody's brought up the idea of this possibly being like a Universe 6 or Universe 11 story where it's like the Pride Trooper story just to kind of test the waters to see if Dragon Ball can sell without Goku? And then should this unfortunate situation happen where she passes away, they would then adapt the manga, wrap it up, and then from then forward, they could maybe try to make money off Dragon Ball from the manga because it's not voice acted, and then from the web series or whatever, or a TV series or a movie that does not have Goku in it. I know that having a Dragon Ball story without Goku is something that they don't really want to risk, but Superhero had very little Goku. So I feel like if this thing is really what they're thinking, Superhero, the continuation of the manga, and this being a Universe 6, Universe 11, Universe 12, whatever story, could be them testing the waters and saying, okay, can we really get away with doing Dragon Ball without Goku? Because it could be a thing where when she passes away, they don't have a replacement ready yet. So, or they might not even want to replace her, so they have to somehow keep the story going. So they could keep the story going in the manga, and then the anime. And I wouldn't like this because I want there to be an anime, but at the same time, like, they could just be testing the waters about selling Dragon Ball without putting Goku's name on it and Goku's face on it.
Well, I do think that the Tournament of Power Beneath the Surface was to test the demographic of Dragon Ball, which is why a lot of the different universes had different themes that actually fit, different forms of entertainment that are in Japan, like
The mecha and martial
all
arts
that
and superhero.
all of those teams were based around different forms of entertainment in Japan, whether it be like Sentai.
We should do a Sayuki on this, actually.
Yeah, that would be so, they are doing that they're doing it beneath the surface. So I wouldn't be shocked if they did do that, to be honest with you. Just based on the fact that they sort of already did that in the Tournament of Power, that's not completely unlikely.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking because I know for a fact, as of a few months ago, they do not have a replacement for Nozawa lined up. I know that for a fact. So I'm not saying they couldn't get one, but I'm saying like this could all be done as a test.
And she's a workhorse too. Like she is in so much. Let's just
she
say
still does Digimon.
Let's just say that this does have Goku in it. You know what I mean? Like, that's just more work for her. Like, she's constantly going. And people talk about how she wakes up ready to be Goku every day.
She
Goku. Loves it. And
she is
Goku. That's what she wants to do, which is cool, but it's like, yeah, it's
Sean Schemmel's the same way, bro. He wakes up and he wants to work. That's something I could tell you. Like, that's because
right.
in this country, not so much in Japan. Here you get paid hourly. Now, obviously, big shots like Sean and Chris have different contracts, but you get paid depending on how much you work. So if you are the main character of an anime or any cartoon, doesn't matter what it is. Look at Kevin Conroy. We just lost Kevin Conroy. This guy was getting, as long as there was Batman, Kevin Conroy had work up until his passing, And, hey, if you're a voice actor and you get to play a main character, you may be set for life. Depending on what happens, you may be set for life. Laser,
right?
What do you think about this whole discussion about it being a test for Nozawa, or what Jordan said about it possibly being like a, still tying into Super, but not really?
I could see that being plausible, although honestly, when it comes to losing Nozawa, which is not a fun thought for any of us, I think, but it's going to happen eventually.
Yeah, it's inevitable.
I do think they will recast because
Me too.
Don't think as sad as it'll be, like, it's Dragon Ball. They want to keep pushing that cash cow.
But
And
remember, the Japanese are different people than the Westerners. They might think to themselves, okay, we can't really recast her due to like honor or whatever. So maybe they'll recast her to wrap up the story and then move on to that. That's where I'm thinking of, because one thing I've learned in the past like 4 or 5 years is the Japanese don't think like we do.
that's true, but I mean, they recast Bulma. They recast
Bulma.
Mr. Satan.
Yeah.
No, you're not wrong. I'm just saying that we're talking about Goku here.
Right. No, I get it. And it's certainly a possibility. I'm not going to say, oh, no, that would never
Because
happen. Oh,
think about this.
totally
Think about
see it.
this. The voice actor for Kai Osama for King Kai passed away. Joji Yanami. We have not seen him since then.
That's
They
true.
purposely left him out of the story. So
Well, and he wasn't just Kaiosama. He was the narrator in Dragon Ball all the way up until Kaiosama
up
appeared.
until he got sick. Yeah, episode 12 of Super. He was the narrator until episode 12 of Super. And that's the point is, yes, they can recast the narrator. But when we haven't even seen Kaio. So maybe they're thinking, okay, we have to make preparations now. You know what I mean? Just in case.
Yeah. No, it certainly could be that. It would be really, really hard for them, though, I think, to push Dragon Ball without Goku.
Yes.
I mean,
that's the tricky question.
And not just Goku. Do it without Goku, Gohan, or Goten.
Right. Yep.
That's a triple
Yeah, she
strike
is
of-
Dragon Ball in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's the entire Son family right there. That's that.
And
Yeah.
Bardock.
And
People
also,
do
if
forget that
you stretch
she's
that
alive.
out, okay, we don't have Goku, Gohan, or Goten. You also can't really do any of the characters that are directly connected to them, because then where's Goku? Where's Gohan? Where's Goten?
A Vegeta story, they would have to explain what happened to Goku because he's always tied to Goku.
If you wanted to do something with brain work.
With who? Pan? But then
Pan,
you need Gohan. Then you need Gohan.
Yeah, exactly, and that's where I was trying to go. My brain kept wanting to call Pan Marin, and I'm like, that's not right.
No, wrong kid.
Wrong kid.
And just to
But yeah.
add with what Laser said, give some weight on why they would recast though, like Luffy's voice actor, I forgot her name though. I don't know if she did
Mayumi
this, she
Tanaka.
jokingly said, right. If she jokingly said, I'm not really sure, but in a very respectful way, she kind of said like, okay, if I'm going to like either retire or kick the bucket, the next person who will handle Luffy from me is probably Masako Nozawa, the most suited for it. So she was like literally saying that she would literally she was hoping that she would live for like what 120 years or probably more, or even expecting that, but maybe in a joking way, she said like the only suitable person who would handle Luffy other than me is probably Masako.
Can you imagine though, Anon, real quick, if actually, can you imagine how wild it would be if Nozawa voiced Goku and Luffy? That's like, dude, that's like if Kevin Conroy voiced Batman and Superman. Like you're always gonna have work at that point forever, and then she passes away. Then what? You know?
Yep, exactly. So if they're gonna recast that, because if they're gonna do this kind of focus on the main cast first, then they have to recast these Stellars, because there's no way getting out of it. So if they're gonna do that, then of course a slice of life anime plus action also.
Well, I was talking about Universe 11, where you don't have to have Goku there.
Right.
Pride Trooper show.
Okay. If they're not going to focus that in the manga later on, then I would definitely go around exploring other universes as well, if they're not going to come to the main plot afterwards. But that depends. If I would definitely want to save the main lore aspects in the manga continuity and of course when the anime wraps later on, so that it gives us a certain of, okay, this is going one route in terms of continuity. Okay, when suppose later on, if there's a big tournament again later on a multi-universe level, and they focus on these multiple universes at first in the main continuity and then focus on these tournaments, that would make more sense compared to, okay, you have to watch web series first for these contexts and then go watch or read the main tournament for that. That is one thought process.
I mean, yeah. My thought was like, they can keep Dragon Ball Super's main story going in manga because there's no voices involved, and then they could use the web series to get other characters over, to get them with the fandom, to get them, oh, we want to see more from this person, that person, and then they could say, okay, we can confidently move forward with an anime without Goku. That's kind of my mentality, is they want to sort of test the water. Because one thing about Dragon Ball I've been talking about is it's very experimental right now. We are in an experimental time period. Superhero was experimental. No, Goku not being the main character, and of course, mostly Piccolo and the CGI. The Breakers is an experimental game. Like, they're not just doing what we expect them to do. So that's why I was thinking it could be something totally like that, you know, in the Dragon Ball universe, but not about Goku. Because there's so many things and when I say universe, I mean like the multiverse. There's just so many places to explore without even Goku having to be there. That's my mentality.
Yeah, that's right. I'm sure. Like, I'm pretty sure that they're going to. They are thinking of taking the whole Marvel and DC route, where they're doing multiple series at once. Like,
Possibly.
Marvel has their own web series. Yeah, Marvel has their own web series. Movies is going on. Comics are also there, and of course the TV series, animated movies, all those things, blah blah blah. So if they're going to take that route and going to have multiple branches of the same Dragon Ball universe, because being so big, then there will be, like, yeah, as you said, like, focusing on each particular character's as it goes, and then they have to make sure that fans do watch this particular thing, and then go on to, let's say, watch the movie or watch or read the manga and all these kind of things, because they do reiterate that for Marvel as well. Because without watching, I guess, these web series for
the Disney Plus shows and the movies, yeah, that right.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
Right.
They all tie together, and it's. I mean, the Dragon Ball room exists for things like this. That's why the Dragon Ball room is even there. And a lot of folks have been wondering, well, are they even utilizing the Dragon Ball room? And the thing is, they are for certain lore things, some video game stuff, but it hasn't. I think when we first heard about Dragon Ball room, people thought we were going to get a bunch of new Dragon Ball, which I did too, and we didn't. But this could be the beginning of that. You know, other writers besides Toriyama, because I think, to be honest with you, I do not think Toriyama will supervise this the way that people think that he will. Like in other forms of entertainment, like for example, Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, Vince Gilligan, he oversees everything because he's in the writer's room. Toriyama doesn't like being around people. I think maybe they'll send him a script, or they'll send him an idea, like a 3-paragraph essay on an episode, and he'll write back some notes, and that's it. He's not writing TV scripts. Toriyama, let me tell everybody this right now. Akira Toriyama has never written a single episode of Dragon Ball Z, GT, or Super. Not a single one. He's written a couple of movies, but he has never written a script for a single episode. He's written his manga, and that's it. So I don't think he'll be writing every episode, but he could be like saying, okay, make sure you do this, make sure you do that, and then that's it.
Well, yeah, it's much more of a writer's room situation in the modern day than I mean, it always was sort of a writer's room thing, but at the end of the day, back in the day, whatever Toriyama drew,
right,
that's what we were going to see. But now it's like,
but remember,
whatever
back
they
in the
come
day,
up with together.
But even when you're adapting the manga, back in the day, you had people that had to take that manga and adapt it for television, including adding more scenes. Because if you adapt the Dragon Ball manga scene for scene, it's going to be like 75 episodes, you know, because there's not that much content. You had to add more dialogue. You had to do filler episodes. You had to do filler arcs. There's always going to be a place for rooms, which is why canon is very difficult to discuss, because when you've got an anime that the original creator didn't write, none of it's canon. If you really want to think about it from that specific thing.
Yeah. If it's just, if Toriyama's involvement is the end all be all. Then.
But that's okay, because I'm a liar. I just talk out of my ass. I don't know what I'm talking about. Toriyama writes every piece of Dragon Ball ever, even though the fucking episodes have credits for other writers besides Toriyama. Why is it that not a single episode of Dragon Ball in the credits say written by Akira Toriyama? It's always based on Toriyama, Akira, Weekly Shonen Jump, Dragon Ball. It's never Toriyama wrote an episode, because he didn't. You just can't do it. He doesn't do that.
When people talk about canon,
they have
it
no
only
idea
really
what
matters.
they're talking about.
Okay, then I'm gonna drop that ball.
No, I'm just saying that most people have no idea what they're talking about.
No, they don't. But like,
not everyone.
Yeah, and when you're talking about canon, it only matters to what is canon to X? Like, what's canon to this episode of Dragon Ball Super? Well, then you can answer that question. What is canon?
You're talking about chronological interpretation,
right?
That's where it's
right. Yeah, but the thing with this quote web series is, I already know I already know people are going to be asking me if it's canon or not. It hasn't even come out yet. They're asking me that. And it's like, I don't even know what it is yet. And even when we find out what it is, what do I answer? Yes? No? The answer is,
the
who
question
gives a
is-
shit?
I would just say no, just for the sake of it. Just to
No,
say
because
no.
that's not that easy
No,
of an
again, it was
answer.
fire at you, but yeah.
Because
Well, I mean,
I
in
would
the
say
best
no.
case,
Nothing's canon, bro. It's
nothing's
all
canon.
just
Nothing is canon, and everything is canon. That's the
in
secret.
the
Yeah,
best
there you
case, it's
go.
canon to maybe Dragon Ball Super. But what is canon to what? What canon are we talking
That's
about?
a whole other debate, man. But you're right. I'm just getting y'all's thoughts on this upcoming. Because if it's not Super, then what is it? I don't think it's going to be a retelling of Dragon Ball from start to finish. I don't believe that's gonna be the
To
case.
me,
I
I
doubt
just
that.
think it's going to be something super related. Just because if you're trying to,
No, you're right.
if
Business-wise,
you're
you're right.
trying to advertise a product and promote a product, it's not a good idea to have a whole. I mean, Super Dragon Ball Heroes, like I said, is called Super Dragon Ball Heroes because of the existence of Super. It was Dragon Ball Heroes for years. That Super part wasn't there.
I forgot
You know
what
what I
year
mean?
they added it, but you're right. It was just called Heroes at one time. That's true.
Right, and it's just, to me, it just seems like they're going to use that to their full advantage as much as they can.
Super
Yeah.
Dragon Ball Super Hero, Super Dragon Ball Heroes. All right, fine. I can't imagine somebody who's a new fan not getting confused. I don't even blame them. Imagine somebody getting into Dragon Ball now. Super Dragon Ball Heroes. Oh, you mean superhero? No, I mean the video game. Oh, but there's an
Super
anime.
Dragon Ball Hero Fighters 2 Turbo Extreme.
Yeah,
Super
it's.
Saiyan
I
God,
can't
Super
imagine a
Saiyan.
new fan not being confused. Anyways, we're gonna get out of here. Any final thoughts from anybody? Go ahead. The floor is yours.
I just hope whatever it is, it's high quality.
Same.
It
Yeah.
has a decent amount of Toriyama involvement, and that's all I want.
I'll leave a link
I-
down below. By the way,
I legit hope it surprises us with whatever it is, because I would like to see something that I don't expect.
but it's good.
Yeah,
You don't
I
want
want
to
it
see
to be
Luke
good.
throwing the
obviously.
lightsaber, bro.
Yeah, it's like, oh, hey, I didn't expect it to be this, but no, I don't want that.
I didn't
but-
expect it to be this bad. It can't be worse than Heroes. Oh, I just jinxed it. No,
I just want some lore. I want some Toriyama lore, and
Yo.
I want it
Yeah.
to be good. I guess is
Anon.
what I'm trying to say.
anything you want to
Yep.
say?
So yeah, I probably think it's going to be like, yeah, if Toriyama's probably involved in that, then it could be like more slice of like comedy gag thing. But yeah, if you're going to focus more on the lore and not going to focus on the manga too much to an extent, that would definitely, another idea I would have in mind is probably go explore the god hierarchy much more than what I've done so far in terms of what are these gods are, what are their positions are, what are they do in the universe, what are they, how do they even come to these positions, all of these things where they can expand a lot, because it will help for Goku and Vegeta to place on, okay, where are they right now in terms of the relationship with, let's say, Whis or Beerus in terms of their relationship with the gods of destruction and different respectful positions. So if they're going to go with the lower aspect, I would definitely want to see, because I'm being an Eastern person who stays in the East, I would definitely like to see like how they explore the whole, you know, the demigods and the god hierarchy in much more detailed way. And in terms of animation wise, I there was a slight hint that the animation director for the first half, that for superhero, that is Kubota, Chikasi Kubota. I guess you
Director, yeah.
he said he might come back for for the next Dragon Ball project, or the next, I don't know which project, but he's gave a slight hint that he might be back. So I want him to be back, or if not,
Right.
then in Shintani or else we ride. So that's
Well, they could do a thing where they all come back just for specific episodes. You know what I mean? Like the really
Yeah.
big episodes that are going to require a lot of fighting. That's what I always want. You don't have to bring Kubota in for like a talking episode or a build-up episode. But when it's a big action sequence, like what they used to do in Z they'd often bring in the big shots for the big episode. So that's what I would do. Same
Right.
thing with Super. I mean, 109, 110, 130, they had the big shots. That's the idea.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
AnimeHunch.com. I'll leave a link to everyone's stuff down below. Let us know what you think. And I'll see you guys probably in a few days here on the channel live as we'll discuss more of this. See you then.